Firstly, if I can request all the guests to start walking in and taking the seats, and I'll also invite the panelists. Anshuman Magazine needs no introduction. He is the chairman and managing director of CB Richard Ellis in South Asia, but more importantly, he is one of the stalwarts of the industry.
Mr. Magazine, please come on stage.
We have Akshay Kumar, the CEO and the founder of Park Lane Advisors, again a doyen of the industry for a long time. Third, a dear friend of mine, Samir Nair. We've shared many panels, and here I have an opportunity to ask him. Managing Director and the Head of Real Estate in Asia for the Credit Suisse franchise. Mr. Sanjay Gupta, Managing Director of PNB Housing Finance. Always a pleasure to hear him. Naveen Raheja, President of Neredgo, as you all must be knowing, and a prominent and a leading developer of the Raheja Group in Delhi. Satish Phandse, President of Hybar Technologies, one of the sponsors for this event. And last but not the least, Rishima Kaur, the business head for Berger Paints, the most well-dressed lady in the room. So before we start, once again, can I request people standing near the door to just please take up your seats. My colleague here, Amish, and me are not Shah Rukh Khan or Saif. We are simply comparing here. So guys, I know we are not attractive enough to have you, but request you all to take seats soon.
Thank you, Naveen. Thank you, Nipun. Let's move on for this action-packed discussion, or this panel discussion where we'll discuss everything. We'll basically discuss future of real estate बाजार का भारत के अंदर क्या फ्यूचर है, we'll discuss that. और सबसे मेरा क्वेश्चन अंशुमन मैगजीन साहब से है, चेयरमैन एंड मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर CB Richard. मिस्टर मैगजीन, मेजर प्रॉब्लम विद रियल एस्टेट डेवलपर्स आर, मुझे लगता है कि इस सवाल के लिए मुझे कुछ डांट भी पड़ेगी सब रियल एस्टेट डेवलपर्स से, क्रेडिबिलिटी ऑफ बिल्डर्स and especially property dealers and overall industry. The basic issues are like timely delivery and quality issues. Do you think for the better future these things to be addressed?
Certainly. Hello. Certainly. The fact is quality has improved from before. See, developers also, everybody blames the developers. Of course, there are a lot of things one can blame the developers, but they are working in an environment which is not easy. Even for delivery of time, for developers, they have to go through a lot of clearances, bureaucracy to clear their projects. Of course, liquidity is a problem. Some of the developers are not being able to get enough funding. But if you look at the glass half full, and if you compare for the last 10 years, the quality of construction has improved significantly in India. There's no doubt about it. But the fact remains, yes, it has to, delivery has been a problem. If you look at average projects, residential projects which should finish in 3 years, they finish in 5 years. So there's a big scope for improvement on timing. And I hope as the competition increases, as the consumer becomes more aware, as there's more regulation, there would be improvement in that area also.
Do you think, Akshay, that in current scenario, this is high time to get a regulator into this? Because, and more importantly, role of regulator is very important in current scenario, the way things are going up. Akshay, yeah.
Well, I think the sector definitely needs some regulation. There's no question about it. How and who regulates, I think, is very key. Developers, while they should probably have some say, I think they should be kept away from the formulation of regulation. Also, however, long term, for the betterment of the industry, I think a regulator will make fair play happen, and therefore you will see more customer-centric things happen. And I think that Wild West syndrome, which perhaps the industry has suffered from in the past, it's lessened now for sure, but it's definitely suffered from in the past, will be controlled. So I don't think there's any question a regulator is needed.
Mr. Raheja, you want to add on this something?
Yeah, I want to add on particularly regulatory issue. We all admit that there's a lot of problem in the country because of a lot of unscrupulous activities going on, and developers or builders getting bad name because of certain people who indulge into wrong practices. Now, in the regulatory act which is coming, which a draft regulatory bill which is there, I am in the committee with the Government of India, and there are so many things which are, although they are trying to rush it, but as I look at it, it is more of a half-cooked attempt which is going to happen. More important issues which are there, they are not being addressed. And to the personal perspective, I wanted to put it up is, you know, what is there in the country, the common man is cheated by the developers without having project with sanctions, without having even the land ownership titles. And the regulator here, the act which is going to come, which is now almost in the final shape, that again lacks, you know, it is addressing only 4,000 meters and above plot sizes. Now, if we look at it, 4,000 meters and above plot sizes by the developers, I have a serious concern because the people who are actually being cheated are the lower strata of the society.
Okay.
And this is subject to manipulation also. Anybody who's to manipulate, he will create different companies in less than, say, 3,800, 3,800, 3,800. And again, they get a maneuverability of, you know, carving out colonies without getting any responsibility and without regulatory act covering them at all. So most important.
One thing I want to interrupt. आपको नहीं लगता कि जितने real estate participants हैं, they are afraid of regulator? Don't you think so?
Yes, because they are regulating the over-regulated also only.
Okay.
4,000 square meters and plus means the developers who fall in the category which have already got the recognition. So they, instead of regulating them who are already regulated, you should try to regulate the unauthorized activity, creation of slums, illegal slums, and that should also be part of the regulatory act. That is number one. Number two, which is most important, is we look at all Indian courts. You know, most of the cases which are languishing, whether in criminal courts or whether in civil courts, they all pertain to real estate, property cases, land disputes, and the regulator is only talking about penalizing the developers. They are not trying to put any responsibility upon the government agencies who delay on sanctions and consequent to which the projects get delayed. So regulator ideally should be which makes it, you know, accountable. Every individual who is causing loss or causing problems for growth of the real estate industry and also for the bad delayed deliveries or whatever actions, those everybody should get covered into that. And let me tell you, including the press also, which releases ads without checking titles, without checking whether the plans have been cleared or whether there is a legally clear title, whether it is a marketable title.
Sanjay, you know, roti, kapda, makan is a theme which we've been hearing for a long time. RBI is trying to control inflation. And inflation obviously hurts roti, kapda, but it hurts makan the most. When the EMI of a person goes up from a 8% to a 12% interest rate, what's your prognosis over the next 12 months? And how do you see that, you know, impacting consumers? Do they need to dip into their pockets further? And you see that environment continuing? Because that's a very big factor, and either where the government wants to reduce inflation, it's actually increased inflation and even reduced affordability of homes even further.
You're correct. You know, when the input costs which are administered in our country get enhanced, obviously the inflation rates will go up. For example, the government enhanced the support price of food items by 15%. So food items were bound to, you know, go up.
Sure.
So similarly is with the loans, that if our raw material cost has gone up some 12 times in the last 18 months, how far can a lender absorb these increases? and it gets shifted on to the individual customer. Now, it's a phenomenon in our country that 98% of our portfolio, outstanding portfolio, is on adjustable rate mortgages. Hence, it gets transferred onto the individual customer. So coming to the individual customer, what happens is, when the rates go up, generally most of the Indian lenders are on term extension program. So the repayment term gets incrementally increased, keeping into nuance that there is not a negative amortization, that you are not capitalizing interest. The second thing is, in case where there is a negative amortization, the lenders come back to the individual customer and they have to revise the installment or the equated monthly installment. And the third option, and which I personally prescribed a lot in increasing interest rate scenario, is that the lender and the customer should always come together and address the situation. And it is possible that if the customer prepays a little bit of outstanding loan, then the EMI can remain constant and the repayment term will also remain as the original repayment term. Mind you, why I prefer the third option most is because in a term extension program, we might say that the EMI remains constant and the repayment term increases, but your effective cost of borrowing goes up. As it is in an equated monthly installment, which is built on the net present value of a loan, the amortization or the repayment of the loan is very slow in the initial years.
Right.
Okay, let me put to Sameer Nair once. Sameer, don't you think that interest rates going up continuously, every quarter it goes up, it is really worrying for the sector, for the future of the sector?
Yeah, I mean, real estate's a very interest rate dependent sector, so it definitely is a huge impact on the overall state of the sector. But at the end of the day, inflation is a bigger worry for the country. So I think over time these interest rate hikes would go away, and the underlying growth in the real estate sector is not going to go away.
But Sameer, to add to his question, and we discussed this a few days ago in Bombay, but the benefit of this audience. So interest rates are high, property has done well, the sector got a lot of capital in the early days. So where has all the money gone? And there's so much liquidity sitting outside India. But, shifting the focus from the consumer, this question is more for the developer. The irony is that the developer does not have access to, it seems, any kind of capital today. The interest rates have gone high, so the banks are unwilling to lend, or, the cost is too prohibitive. So where has all the money gone, and what do you see as the prognosis again for the next, maybe coming year, 2012? Is it worse than 2011? And are you finally seeing, capital flow back? Can developers expect private equity? So just your perspective on that.
I really feel bad for the developers these days. I mean, it's not an easy time to be a developer. There really is, like you said, no capital out there. Locally, the RBI has basically put literally a ban on real estate lending. The IPO markets or the public markets have been shut down for quite some time. So there's no money to be raised there. And foreign capital is non-existent as well. All the people who had come looking at the India story and the India boom back from 2005 to 2008, essentially people invested a lot of money, but nobody's actually been able to take any money back. So nobody's actually made money investing in real estate, which is a point I think you made the other day, which is, it's got to be the most ironic fact where the underlying asset, which is real estate, has done so phenomenally well. Ask anybody who owns a house and he'll tell you that value of my house has doubled in the last 3 years. But if you ask the investors who invested in real estate, they all say they lost money. So it's kind of a dichotomy that basically, I think is hurting India in the long term. I think till that first cycle of capital goes back and people actually make some money investing in Indian real estate, it's going to be very difficult for us to attract more foreign capital coming in. So I think prognosis for 2012 actually is not very bright.
But Anshuman, moving to you, I think, are you for the motion, against the motion? Do you agree with Sameer's view there too? Because you're meeting a lot of companies setting up shop in India, the demand side of the equation, and then when you see the capital side of the equation, why is it missing?
I think,
and what is, and more importantly, what do you think is needed to kind of bring back people into the market?
I think first and foremost, besides whatever Samir said, I just want to add that valuations are going to improve, which means the values, one of the biggest deterrent is the valuations are too high. So if you look at the foreign capital, India may give a high return, but you can literally invest outside India at a much better valuation, at a much lower debt. So your cost of money is low, cost of asset is low. No doubt the return may be low also because demand is not that much, but the risk is also very low. I think that cycle will come back to India when the valuations are better. And if the cost of debt does come down, I expect more investments to come in. Also, there is one end, there's no liquidity at the institution level. On the other hand, there's a huge amount of money sitting in cash because of the low sentiment, because of people not having the confidence that money is not going out into the real estate. The stock market is volatile, you can't buy gold. So the money has to come to real estate. If the sentiment was to improve, if the valuations were to become more realistic, I think money will come back. Of course, it'll take time.
So let me go to Satish Fund. Say, quick reaction, Satish. How technology can be integrated with real estate to make it better for the future? Quick take from you.
We have seen industries such as banking or retail who are completely transformed by information technology.
Okay.
I think we firmly believe that real estate industry also has similar potential to be transformed by information technology. A lot of award winners and the stalwarts in the industry spoke about transparency, spoke about delivery issues, spoke about customer experience. These are the areas where information technology can definitely help to provide best-in-class tools. For example, you have SAP-like software in the areas of ERP, CRM. These are the tools which can really make delivery challenges, the transparency challenges, the customer experiences much superior if used properly as tools. And now they are far more affordable to the sector and really sector-focused tools. Tools are getting customized for the sector. So I would say this industry can really transform itself using information technology.
Okay. Rishima, this one is for you. I think given that you come from a sector which is more a vendor to the sector, the whole paints industry, what is your outside-in view about the industry and the growth rates which you are seeing in the derived sectors? Because the sector provides, it has connections to over 200 industries, whether it's steel, cement, paint, a lot of other industries. So what do you see? Are you seeing a slowdown? Are you seeing more demand? Where are the prices heading? So if you can give your perspective, that will be helpful.
Like everybody said, that the real estate in the next 10 years is only going to rise. The growth rate is going to be 20 to 22%. Anything that is connected to construction is also going to grow. Paint is growing at 16% at a CAGR. It may be higher now. The main concern here is, with so much construction going on, we are getting what is known as the urban heat island effect. India contributes to 5% of the CO2 emissions in the world. It is only going to increase. We are not an energy efficient nation at all. We are an energy deficient nation and an energy inefficient nation. What we as a paint company are doing is looking at how to conserve energy. How can we best make it possible for constructed buildings in the future, once they are occupied, to be able to conserve and reduce energy costs and CO2 emissions. Today we have in our product portfolios products that can save energy and reduce energy cost by almost 12%. Now that is huge. If you consider a covered square feet area of 1 lakh square feet, fully air conditioned, 24 hours for the whole year, you're talking of an energy for air conditioning of almost 5 crores, maybe 6 crores a year. If you look at 12% even reduction in that, those are huge numbers. There are systems available, technologies available to reduce that to even more, by 20-25%. But there has to be a legislation that comes into play. People have to be aware of these energy solutions and energy consumption reduction solutions. And this is where we are trying to help out, to try and bring the awareness to people, to construct, in the construction world, to developers, to the regulators, to the legislatures, to understand that in the next 10 years, with the energy demands increasing, we're not getting energy efficient anyways. So I think that is the most important thing here.
It's interesting, you brought that perspective here, and I don't think all of us were really aware about, what all is being done by the ancillary. But I have a follow-on question to that. All the developers need to execute so much more in the next 3 to 4 years versus what they've been used to delivering. So from your industry perspective, and every industry is facing a shortage of skill set of labor. Are you, while there is all of this available, but I am told there are not enough painters and carpenters to do the job on site. So what is, are you witnessing that? And how is that getting addressed?
There is a 30% shortage in labor, like what we call semi-skilled labor or skilled labor, etc. People expect paint manufacturers to start painting. We don't do that. We don't apply. There has to be from the government a sense of training for these kind of people. There has to be dwellings for migratory labor. It is a seasonal thing, painting is. Painting only comes into play once the project is over. That's when you start calling up the paint manufacturer that come and paint our building. That's not the time. We keep telling them, please invite us when you're developing the project at the conception stage. And that's really when we can plan the machines for painting, we can plan the labor for painting, and you don't have repair work, you don't have repetition, and you save a lot of money.
Okay, Reshma, let me go to Anshuman Magazine. One last question for the evening. Anshuman, many builders claim that they are green. 75 to 80% is compulsory. What's your take on that? What is exactly green building?
See, first of all, there is more green now, which is basically energy efficiency would be one major aspect of being green. We are seeing that in office, commercial sector, there is a significant increase in being green. In the residential side, it's still limited because it does sometimes, many times initial costs are more, but over a period of time, you save money. So in commercial buildings, there's increase, but residential, certainly there needs to be a huge improvement in so-called going green, which we are not seeing,
Okay, Nipun.
No, I think the one final question for, maybe Akshay and Sanjay is that the view on pricing that everybody kind of looks out for, real estate pricing. Are there too much headwinds, or are you seeing, the cycle turn? Just your thoughts as you get into 2012 on that.
Well, I think we've been all in touch with what's happening on the ground. We're in touch with developers. We're in touch with multiple people who do share the opinion that there are lots of headwinds for the pricing side. General opinion is that markets are slowing down. Pricing is generally under pressure, especially on the residential side. And a lot of people are not optimistic on 2012 at all. The worst thing that's really happening is that volumes have dipped on the residential side. And I think that is a bit scary for the industry, really, because, that will further cause pressure on cash flow. My personal view is a bit to the contrary. I do think that, yes, all these facts do exist, but sometime probably from the end of first quarter 2012, perhaps in the second quarter of 2012, I do see volume action coming back into the market. I think prices will not run anywhere near as they've run in the past. I don't think the market needs a price rise at all, but definitely it needs the volume action. And my sense, both from touch and feel and from gut, says that volume action will come back second half of 2012. So.
Thank you so much to our esteemed panelists. Thank you so much for joining us. We have another set of awards which will be just followed, and after that we have cocktail and dinners. Nipun, thank you so much for joining us and being here. Thank you so much, our esteemed panelists.